Authorization to pay 2010 dues. This is a long list. New York State Association of Town, $1,500. New York State Planning Federation, $190. International Code Council Government Membership dues, $100. Onondaga County Planning Federation dues, $50. New York State Building Officials, 4 individuals times $45 or $180. National Fire Protection, $150. New York State Town Clerk Association, $60. Onondaga County Town Clerks Association, $20. Onondaga County Supervisor Association, $20. New York State Central New York Recreation and Park Society, 4 individuals, $386. Sports Turf Managers of New York, $200. New York State Tax Receivers Collectors Association, $25. Onondaga County Tax Receivers Collectors Association, $15. Onondaga County Highway Superintendent Association, $75. New York State Association of Town Superintendent of Highways, $150. New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, $100. Onondaga County Chiefs of Police dues, $50. Central New York Association of Chiefs, $50.
The supervisor? The
Yeah.
McLaughlin one is a user fee for a service that's provided. Does that belong under dues?
Guess I would ask that, Tracy,
It's
that.
always been there, she,
I don't remember it being there last year, maybe it was. I just don't remember.
it was last year.
I just want to make sure
Well,
it's
let's
correct.
take it out then.
Yeah, you could be put under contractual expense.
Okay,
Take it out.
I just want to make sure it's in the right place.
okay. What is that word?
McLaughlin?
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Okay, I'm learning all these new words. McLaughlin Annual User Fee, Membership Fee, $400. I'm sorry, it's going to be removed to contractual. Onondaga County Clerks Association, 2 times $25, $50. Onondaga County Magistrates Association Judges Walzick and Putzer, $80. New York State Magistrates Association, $350. New York State Assessors Association, $85. Onondaga County Assessors Association, $30. National Recreation and Park Association, $130. Association of New York State Youth Bureau, $140. Government Finance Officers Association is $125.
Second the motion and take a drink.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Jennings.
Yes.
Ms. Zambrano.
Yes.
Mr. Coral.
Yes.
Ms. Boyke.
Yes.
I move to appoint, this is in regard to the 2010 New York State Association of Towns Annual Meeting Delegate. I move to appoint Supervisor Judy Boyke as the delegate from the town of Cicero and Jessica Zambrano as the alternate for the 2010 Association of Towns meeting in New York City, February 14th to the 17th of this year.
Second to motion.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Mr. Jennings.
Yes.
Ms. Zambrano.
Yes.
Mr. Coral.
Yes.
Ms. Boyke.
Yes.
Again, this relates to New York's Association of Towns Annual Meeting expense approval. I move to approve expenditures for travel hotel registration not to exceed $800 per person for Supervisor Judy Boyke, Jessica Zambrano, and Counselor Jessica Zambrano, and Lynn Jennings, and Tax Receiver Sharon Edick to attend the 2010 Association of Towns meeting in New York City, February 14th to the 17th.
I'll second it.
Before we move on this motion, I'd like to have some discussion if the supervisor has no objection.
Go ahead.
Just as a backup, in the past we've always sent one individual from the town to the associations of towns in New York City. Traditionally it's been Sharon Edick through the town, and we've compensated her the $800 for that. I see that we've added into their cost for the supervisor, which I have no objection to, and actually agree with the motion prior made that we allow and send Ms. Boyke as our delegate to New York City for this Association of Towns meetings. I object to Councilors Zambrano and Jennings going an additional cost to the taxpayers of $1,600. In the past, we haven't incurred those costs. That's the first issue I have with the motion. The second issue is when I was first elected just to the town board, they have a meeting in Rochester through the Associations of Towns. It costs $50. I paid for it out of my own pocket, drove to Rochester, and one day spent the day there. And it's a training type seminar for newly elected officials, which I think is adequate, especially under these economic times we're in. There's no need to expend additional costs for taxpayers, for politicians, town board members to go to New York City for this type of event. The delegates can bring back the information and it can be shared with the other town board members, so we all have access to that and can be shared amongst ourselves. With that being said,
I just want to make one point, Jim, that this year it was $200 in Rochester, up from the $50 when you went. And I've been told that this is a absolute great training. I'm new to the business, and I think it would behoove me to go to a meeting like this to get the education I need to carry on the position I've been elected to.
I appreciate that. Mr. Conway, were you invited to go to this, or for you to be included on this trip?
No.
I was not either, or asked or consulted as to whether or not to be included under this portion of the meeting.
I believe, again, so that's for newly elected officials.
No, the Association of Towns actually is an annual event for any elected official to attend as to an update as to information that might be relevant to towns. It's not geared towards or specifically for newly elected officials. The Association of Towns goes on each and every year. It's attended by attorneys, engineers, and elected officials.
I will stand corrected, thank you.
Under the circumstances with myself, and I appreciate the fact that you feel that it's best that I go, I also feel that because of the two newly elected officials as well, that the best education right now for them would be to go to this present conference. I understand that, and I was aware of the Rochester classes, but was told that this was a much better, well-spent money to educate the newly ones as well as myself. As far as asking you, Mr. Corral, or Mr. Conway, it's obvious that you've been affiliated with the town and the town board for quite some time and have had the opportunity over the previous years to make that choice to go. And knowing of this particular classes in New York, if you do so have chosen or wanted to go, I'm sure that you would have had the opportunity.
I appreciate the comments. I have no other comments.
Mr. Conway?
No.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Zambrano?
Yes.
Mr. Corral?
No.
Ms. Boyke?
Yes.
And with that being said, then I would just ask, not in the form of motion, but if there's any information that's provided to the supervisor or information that you may feel necessary that are helpful to myself or Mr. Conway, if you could provide copies, I'd appreciate it.
I would certainly share all the information. That is the object for myself and the counselors to go, is to get this information and bring it back to the town. That is our choice, and that is what we plan to do with every conference that we plan to go to.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that when I went in 2007, I did bring the information back to share with the other town councilors and with some department heads, and that information was rebuffed, just for the record. Shall we move to the next motion?
Certainly.